everybody. In this video, we're going to be talking about the basic definition of what a percent is. And in later videos, we'll be talking about how to solve percentage problems. So, when you're first introducing percents to your students, you can help them understand the concept by explaining the root words of the word percent. So, the root word per means for each, and the root word cent means hundred. And you can help them make these connections by thinking about how many cents are in a dollar, or a century is 100 years. A centurion is a Roman army leader that would lead 100 men. Technically, centipedes don't have 100 legs, but when they were naming centipedes, they called it a centipede because it had tons of legs. And they just decided to say that it was, about 100, even though technically they don't have 100 legs. So the root word cent means 100, and the root word per means for each. And this is a great introduction to percentages as being a standardized ratio. So, whenever you see a percentage, it's basically saying that the number is over 100 or out of 100. So, if you have something like 20%, that means you have 20 out of 100. If you have 98%, that means you have 98 out of 100. And if you have 105%, that's 105 out of 100. Notice that this one is bigger than a whole because the fraction equivalent of it is an improper fraction, which means that it's greater than 1, which is why 105% is more than a whole, since a whole would be 100%. And so, an application of this would be if you had a student who scored 18 out of 20 on a quiz. So, the ratio of the number of questions that the student got correct out of the total number of questions would be 18 out of 20. And as a percentage, you'd be looking for what's an equivalent fraction that has a standardized denominator of 100. And in other videos, we'll talk about how to solve problems like this. But the basic idea is that you can take any ratio or any fraction. But the basic idea is that you can take any fraction and find it as a percentage by finding a equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 100. And when you're solving percent problems, there's three different types of percent problems. So there's problems where the part is missing, like what is 28% of 750, where you know what the percentage is and you know what the total amount is, but you're trying to figure out what is 28% of 750. You can also have percent problems where the whole is missing, like 15 is 30% of what? Or you can have percent problems where you are asked what percent of 40 is the number 12. And so in future videos, we'll go through several different methods that you can use to help your students solve these three types of percent problems. So to summarize, the root words of the word percent means for each 100. And that introduces the idea of percents as being a standardized ratio or fraction where the denominator is always 100. And there's three different types of percent problems that we'll cover in future videos.